So this is a continuation of our Health and Serenity series, and I hope you're all working assiduously on your health. And now we'll do the serenity part. And that's where we look. So, obviously, to meditation. Our sort of foolproof access to serenity. And the access improves the more we practice. So here we are for our Sunday evening meditation, but it doesn't hurt to repeat that we certainly want to recommend that you don't limit yourself to Sunday evening with your meditation. that you find times in the rest of the week to sit. And, if you can do it 5 days a week, that's great. If you can do it 6 days a week, that's even better. And it's easiest if you just get in the habit of doing it every day, and then you don't have to remember which day it is. So you just know, I'm getting up in the morning, it's time to go meditate. I recommend that strategy. So let's adjust our seat, our posture. Getting in a position that's comfortable, that allows your spine to be erect and aligned. And allows you to feel alert. And let's close our eyes. So the first order of business is always to scan your body, see if there's any tension that is unnecessary for maintaining your posture. And if you find an area like that that's tense, just breathe into it a little bit and allow it to melt away. And I say allow it because tension implies that you're contracting muscles. And so you're actually giving your body permission to desist, stop contracting them. You don't have to do that. You can let it go. So it's not an effort here. It's actually the elimination of effort. So it's a relief. The only thing that's needed for converting tension into relief is awareness. Awareness that you're holding, and then willingness to Stop doing that. To eliminate the effort. So checking for those areas through your body. And once you've done that, then next on the list, turn your attention to the breath. And first, just observe your breath. You don't really have to do anything. Just be aware of the breath. Be aware of what part of your body is moving, your chest, where the expansion is and where the expansion isn't. Be aware of the rate and rhythm of your breath. Is it smooth and even, or is it jerky? And especially be aware of, is there any interruption of the flow of the breath, either at the end of inhalation or at the end of exhalation. If you find any interruption, that's also a holding, so you can release that and allow the breath to flow evenly and continuously as is its desire. So now that we've made provisions for the body, and we've checked in with the breath, the next order of business is the thoughts, the mind. What's going on with the mind? So just like we observe the body, find out where there's tension. We observe the breath, find out where we're holding or interfering with the breath. Now we observe the thoughts. What thoughts are running through your mind? All you have to do is notice them. You don't really have to do anything with them or about them. All you have to do is watch them. Watch them, let them float by. If your mind wanders, bring it back to the task at hand, which is observing the flow of thoughts. Or perhaps you hear the thoughts. So observing the sound of the thoughts. One leading to another, leading to another. And notice them and let them go. The intention is to not engage them. And by that we mean not to think the thoughts and enter a inner debate or take one thought and go to a next thought that leads to a train of worry or questioning or preoccupation, but rather let the little thought fragments pass through unengaged, letting them float on away. I am not my thoughts. I am that which watches my thoughts. I can choose to engage a thought, or I can choose not to. At this moment, I'm meditating. I choose not to engage any of the thoughts. They are like background noise. That I don't have to pay attention to. I know they're there, but I let them go on their way. It is relaxing and freeing to not have to do anything with them. Just let them go on. If some are about pressing issues, I will deal with them later. But right now, I'm meditating. There is no need to engage them. I'm free. Serene, at peace. Perhaps at some point, the thoughts give way to images, snapshots, memories. But I'm not going to engage them either. Let them float past as well. I will remain in my place of serenity. They're out there going by. But I don't need to get tangled up in them, or respond to them, or process them. Just notice them moving past. Enjoying the quietness, enjoying the freedom from involvement with thoughts, worries, preoccupations. Grateful for learning the skill of doing this. Hmm. And gradually letting your attention drift down to the heart center. And notice what happens when you do that. Maybe there's light or color or when you feel you're settled into the heart center, you can begin to expand your attention from the heart center out to the right, out to the left, up above, below. Gradually bringing your attention back to the surface of your body, contact with the chair or cushion you're sitting on. And beginning to move your fingers a little bit, right and left. Begin to wiggle your toes a little bit. And moving your head slightly. Slowly bringing your attention back to your physical body. You can move your hands a bit, your feet. No hurry. And when you're ready, you can bring your palms to cover your eyes. And after a few moments, you can open your eyes and look into your palms, keeping your gaze fixed on your palms as they float down to your lap. And then slowly begin to unfold your limbs, your legs. You can massage your feet a little bit, your thighs, your ankles, your knees, whatever needs some attention. Being very deliberate and slow and kind to your body. Right. Always be very gentle with yourself when you're coming out of a meditation. Don't be in a hurry. Great. Stretching a little bit. And once you feel like you're back in touch with the world, if you have any questions, comments, sharing about your experience, or questions about meditation practice, they're most welcome, those questions and comments. And as I have said in the past, they are it's very generous to offer questions and comments because it helps everybody else. Everyone learns from that. So be generous. Share with others. It will be appreciated. So yeah, just if you want to say something, just say your name and then comments, questions. You have to unmute yourself, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, 30%. Was that me?
Yeah, sorry.
Talking about the different states of consciousness, and just now, like in meditation, I noticed when I got to like the images, just kind of floating by, and then kind of a deeper state, but at that state is almost where I felt like I was falling asleep, you know. And
Yeah.
so then I just popped right back into like all the thoughts
Uh-huh.
going,
Uh-huh.
which is the way I was thinking about that this morning when I wake up coming out of dream state. Often it's immediate thinking, and I noticed it was so hard to. I mean, like it's like starting over.
Right.
With
Well,
I was
yeah.
trying not to be like judging myself, like, oh, now you blew it, you have to start over, but.
Well, actually, I think it's a sense of progress probably that you didn't just go to sleep. You know, you bounced back to the thoughts like, whoops, I don't want to go all the way down there. I want to remain conscious. And of course, then consciousness for us usually means thinking. So yeah, but that's the kind of exploration that's really valuable, because gradually you will learn, oh yeah, okay, I don't want to go all the way back to the thoughts, I just want to not go right down into the sleep, so I'm going to look for that place in between, and you know, you have to learn your way around. Yeah.
So just in that place.
Yeah.
That's there, not.
Right. And
spot, I suppose,
yeah,
huh?
so that's great. I think that's impressive. I'm great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I appreciated greatly your talk last week. I wasn't able to attend, but it was amazing.
Oh, good. So you could access it. Okay. Yeah, great. Great.
Thank you.
Yes, Arabella.
I'm just coming off retreat, and one thing I experienced on retreat was the ability to go to sleep but maintain pure consciousness. So, you know, sometimes when I'm leading a meditation, I notice that somebody's snoring. And I think, oh, well, they needed to sleep, so that's okay. But there's that switch where you're drifting into sleep state where you can say, that's okay, body, you can be that relaxed, but I want to be present.
Right. And that's a kind of landmark along the way, that you can begin to hold those two at the same time. And that's one of the great aspects of the whole meditative process, and moving toward a superconscious state, or whatever you want to call it, is that you don't abandon one state of consciousness to go into another, that you can hold them transparently. You know, this one is here and this one is also here. And that's not how we are usually either trained or taught to be in the world. We're taught to be in the waking consciousness, and then at a certain time we go to bed, and then we go into the other consciousness, and we are completely oblivious to the waking consciousness. So, you know, we're splitting it apart. And real progress toward a higher state is to keep them connected, keep them, don't lose the thread of consciousness as you move through these various inner states. So that's, your practice is yielding results. Yeah, it's great. Wonderful. Anybody else have something to share or questions to ask about your own meditation, or how it's going, or what problems you have or challenges when you're meditating at home, or meditating, you're at home now, but meditating when we're not in a group?
Hey Swamiji, this is Renee here. First of all, thank you so much for this. It's really wonderful to see you.
Yes.
I was just wondering, I think this talk about falling asleep, and I think it is, especially like if I get up really early, like 4 or 5 in the morning to sit in the meditation, I am constantly fighting that. And but I think all the books that I've read, they keep saying that the best time to meditate is like early in the morning. So I mean, how what's the best way to I know you explained a little bit about it, but I think I was just the same question. I think is like I think it's harder, especially that time of the morning where I think my body wants to like completely like sleep in the
Yeah.
uh,
Yes. Well, thank you, Vinay, for that question. So you see, we can't really isolate this part of our life, the meditation, from all the other parts, because the other parts of our life affect that. So we need to come to the time of meditation rested enough that we don't need to sleep, that we've done our sleep, you know. And of course, we have busy lives, so that's difficult, but it requires some engineering. You know, so I get to bed early enough and I sleep enough till I wake up and feel like, okay, that's enough. You know, I mean, Swami Ravi used to say to me, when you wake up, get up. And he said it with such emphasis that I wake up in the morning and I think I can hear him say, okay, get up. And so I get up. But but I wake up because I've had enough sleep, you know, but it has to be restful sleep. So we also have to learn, how do we have restful sleep? And that means we can't eat too late. We can't be in when we go to bed, we can't be in a tense, agitated state. So you do a few minutes of breathing or a few minutes of stretching or postures before you go to bed. And then your sleep is more restful. And then when you wake up because you've had enough sleep, not because you're restless and can't sleep. So all this sleep engineering thing is a prerequisite for being able to sit and have an, you know, valuable meditation. So there's a lot of adjusting of our lives. Of course, incidentally, as we make those adjustments, we're doing great things for our health. And so there are many benefits. So it's not like I have to sacrifice being nervous before bed. Actually, I will enjoy my sleep more. And then when I get up, I'll feel more alert as well. It's a lot of things like that. Your diet. Slump over, because when you slump over, that posture leads to an obscuring of your consciousness, and then you fall asleep. And so they kind of help each other, you know, the slumping and the sleepiness, and then boom, there I go again. So, you know, it's we talk about the practice of meditation, but generally we don't talk much about, well, what do you have to do before you sit down on the cushion that will make the meditation happen? And those are the things that need attention as well. And you know, you work, as you work it out, it'll get better. And then you'll also, as you form the habit of meditating, it'll be something that your whole system is kind of adjusted to. And it's like, okay, now's the time when we're gonna, you know, sit straight and feel comfortable and be alert and enjoy. And so it's just like, okay, this is the time to eat, I'm hungry. Well, this is the time to meditate and I do it. So that's the value of establishing a regular practice. That, you know, it's like, okay, my body begins. It's like time to meditate. Okay, I'll sit up, and we don't. It's not the time to sleep, so I don't have as much inclination to sleep. So all these little pieces go together to make it more possible. Yeah, so thank you for that question. That's everybody has that question almost. So it's good to share that. Great. Anybody else?
Swami Ravi, it's Karen. I have another question. So the part about the alternate nose breathing and regulating. So I'm just curious, my daughter broke her nose a long time ago, and one side of her nose she can't breathe through at all. And I know there's other people like that. And so how do those people ever get the masculine, feminine, and all that lined up?
A great question. Very good question. Thank you. Well, there are several answers to the question. The yogis say what you do is sutra neti. And neti is the nasal cleansing. So people, who's used a neti pot before, pour water through? Yeah, gosh, almost everybody. Amazing. When we started doing this in the US, it's like no one had ever heard of it, you know. And so the Himalayan Institute started manufacturing neti pots and shipping them around the place. And gradually, it's become a common thing, which is great. There are a lot of reasons why it's a healthy thing to do. But there's another, and actually the neti pot itself can help some with this, this nasal septum thing, believe it or not. But a more extreme measure is the sutra neti, which doesn't use a pot. It uses a string, or nowadays people use a rubber catheter, and you put it in your nose and pull it out your mouth. And then you kind of go back and forth this way. Now that sounds scary, but actually it's really not that difficult. And I think the Himalayan Institute probably still sells those little things. The original ones in India were made from a very soft cord, soft cotton cord, so it wouldn't abrade the lining of the nose. And so then what you do is they would leave the first part of the string intact as a string, and then they would unravel the rest. And then the string part you would dip in beeswax to kind of make it a little stiffer. Then you could kind of shape it so it's curved, and you could stick it in and catch it from the back of your throat. And then you pull it down till you've got the actual soft strings of cotton. And that's what you move back and forth very gently. And that helps open up the closed part. If you do it over a period of time, it also helps your vision. And I've seen it help so many people. I have a little story about that. It was my mother, who was 85 or something, and she heard Swamiji talk about this. And so she went home, and you know, I didn't know she really even paid attention to that. So I got home to visit her, and I said, Mama, get your glasses. I want you to read this. And she said, I don't need my glasses. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, I don't use glasses anymore. I said, you don't? She said, no, I started doing that string thing, and now I don't need glasses. So it actually does do things that are rather remarkable. So that's the sutra neti. Now, depending on the level, the degree of deviation, that might not be sufficient. But generally, the actual the cartilage that separates the two nostrils is fairly flexible, and bones are always reshaping themselves. And they, you know, to some extent, they shape the stream of air, but also to some extent, the stream of air shapes the bones, the cartilage especially. So with the neti or the sutra neti, often over time, it will open up more, and then you will have a normal functioning nasal passages. And then if that fails, there is surgery. But surgery is tricky because most rhinoplasties are not actually about function, they're about cosmetics. And so a cosmetic rhinoplasty, that means a reshaping of the nose, is designed to look a certain way. But most surgeons, at least in my experience, but I haven't checked recently, but most of surgeons don't pay much attention to the actual openings that they're shifting and changing. And so often those surgeries can make it worse. I mean, the nose may look better, but the actual function may not be better, and it can actually be worse. So you want to choose a rhinologist that is attuned to doing functional rhinoplasties.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there are some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's mostly just concerned because she can't breathe at all through one side of her nose.
Right. That does become a problem. It's it has an impact on your whole way of thinking and being when one nostril can't open.
That's what I was wondering about, because you were talking about the balancing and how the body automatically balances between the two, and if you don't have that balancing.
Yes, it's an impediment to your health. I mean, it's a subtle thing, and it's not usually life-threatening, but it does you're always dealing with a difficulty that you don't really know what it is or even realize that you're dealing with it until it's fixed. And then it's like, oh, I can breathe, And so it is something to address, I think.
Mm-hmm. Seems like, well, thank you.
Thank you for that. I mean, there are a lot of people who have problems with that aren't even aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions, comments? We have time for another one or two.
A question on sutra neti. Hi, this is Renee again. Is the plastic ones, while you were talking, I was just looking on Amazon. There's a bunch of them on Amazon. Is this effective? Do you recommend it?
Well, they're usually now not beeswax and cotton thread. They're usually rubber catheters.
Right, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, but the way that should be done is that the rubber catheter should be the first part, like the string coated with beeswax used to be, and then inserted into the other end of the rubber catheter, it should be cut, and a string should be inserted there, so you can pull the catheter through and use a soft string, because the soft string is easier on your nasal passages than a rubber catheter. So if you can find that, that's better. Yeah. I haven't looked recently, and so I didn't know, but thank you. That's interesting to get that information that people are actually selling them. It was a time when nobody ever heard of it. Nobody was selling those. So I'm glad that they are. Thank you, Vinay. Anybody else? Roger, do you have something?
Actually, I'm curious. We were talking about levels of consciousness before. And I'm wondering, as we meditate, and I've noticed there are times where, a little bit like Arabella was saying earlier, I think I am falling, I know I'm actually falling asleep, but I'm also very aware of what's going on inside my body. Like I could follow this little bubble of air coming into my mouth and knowing it's opening and then going to, that sound you make when you fall asleep. But also become aware of the sounds around me, but aware that I'm sleeping, aware that I'm inside and what's going on around me. So how do I identify the levels of consciousness in part of what I just talked about?
Well, that's fascinating. Thank you for that comment. The bubble coming up is the apana vayu, which is reversed.
Mm-hmm.
And apana vayu, there are 5 values. Those of you who are yoga students probably know that, should know that. There are 5 energy flows in the body, subtle energy. And one is prana vayu, which is the incoming energy when you inhale, and that comes into your lungs and has a lifting effect. And then that's the main one. And then the second one that's very important is apana vayu, which is the downward moving current. And the downward moving current is what carries the urine out when you urinate, or the menses out when you menstruate, or the baby out when there's parturition, when there's birth, or the ejaculation when you're having sex, and feces when you defecate. That's the apana vayu, the downward moving energy. But when the apana vayu for some reason gets blocked, either because of tension in your pelvic floor or because of psychological issues or whatever, situational stresses, you know, like you're holding the world together and you're holding yourself together, then the apana vayu can't flow well. Then it will reverse and you will get air coming out into your mouth and out your mouth, which I mean, you know, it's a real thing that happens, though most people obviously don't notice it. So that would suggest that maybe your, quote, sleep is the effect of that apana vayu, because apana vayu shouldn't come up. It has this kind of negative effect, and yeah. So you want it to move down. I think if you get that moving down, you will you'll be able to stay. You won't have as much trouble going into sleep, and your consciousness will be clearer. And how you get the apana vayu to move down is through, like, massage your feet with oil before you go to sleep at night. That's a good thing. There are other things too. I mean, you know, if you're constipated, that affects it, and so forth. But that's fascinating. And so then you will discover probably if the sleepiness part goes away, then you'll be able to tell which structure of consciousness you're in more easily.
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Roger. Arbel?
So how does one discern if one is experiencing a reversal of apana versus a different manifestation of udana?
Because udana vayu is projected out with speech, for example. And it's a more forceful, deliberate kind of coming up and out. This is more a gaseous kind of bubbling up and just escaping from your mouth. It's not, it doesn't have the thrust that udana vayu has.
So I'm thinking sneezing, vomiting, speech.
Well, actually, vomiting can be udana vayu, but
there's also some secondary vayus, right?
sneezing is one of the secondary.
Yeah, and vomiting as well, I think.
Maybe, yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, I was just reading about it.
But vomiting can be reversed by stimulating the apana vayu, even if it's not udana.
Gotcha.
So that's a medical intervention that when people are vomiting and vomiting, you give them an enema and you get the apana vayu to go down, and then the vomiting stops.
Mm-hmm.
That's Ayurvedic technique.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. Great. Well, I guess our time is about up. Thank you all for showing up and for all your participation and comments and questions. And it's great.